Jesus.
Hey everybody, just a quick message from Bald and Bonkers Network. We would like to remind everybody that certain topics of discussion may not be comfortable for all listeners. Certain viewpoints may not reflect those of our partners, sponsors, affiliates, our hosts, or that of our guests. We would like to encourage everybody to keep a respectful and open climate of discussion for all topics, no matter how disturbing they may be. So viewer discretion is advised.
Discoveries mankind has ever experienced.
And that is why we bring you the Bald and Bonkers Show.
Baby, you can get on my boat and make it rock.
Wait, wrong channel.
That was weird. That was weird. Did that break up for you guys?
What happened?
That was really weird.
What was really weird, Christopher?
Not the fact that you had a mad, crazy face, but it was the fact that the video just slurred right down. It was like, that's
I saw that too.
That's the spookiness is happening tonight.
That always happens when specials and the Naked Bigfoot get together. My
you're
God.
Back, Dakota. Would you like to get introduced it tonight saying you're back, Dakota? Come on. You've not been about.
Well, sorry that I've been busy with a move, Christopher. I would like to thank you for not completely tearing apart my company.
I know.
Well, we are here on a very awkward and weirdly timed episode of Bald and Bonkers, talking about the origin of the zombie and who else to bring about to discuss this topic than Mike, the Naked Bigfoot, who finally has a decent enough signal to where we can actually communicate.
Yes, I am your humble guest, Mike, the Naked Bigfoot, and yeah, signal's been sucking ass for some time now, but today seemed to be okay.
I personally think you put that thing back in the box. Don't you?
Put the stone face back in the box.
I was about to say, can we stop comparing dildos here, guys?
Well, Mike has got the biggest one, seemingly. That's what I've been told.
I have the biggest what? Collection of dildos?
You've got the biggest one. It's fine, you can hold
Oh
me.
my God.
or the biggest schlong, because both would be true.
Well,
God. There's no lies being spoken in this conversation at all.
Old man sag doesn't count, Mike.
That's
oh no, it's no sag there, boo. It's all there.
So tonight, guys, this is Mike's night. He's going to tell you a very interesting tale of strange things from beyond. So, Mike, put that in there. Without further ado, Mike, you have control, my friend.
Well, it's a topic I've been wanting to talk about for some time, especially now that, you know, in pop culture now, the the zombie has become quite famous. Everybody has a TV show. Everybody has a movie coming out of some form of zombie, whether it's caused by a virus, a curse, or whatever that is pulling it up. That people they either don't know or they forget the roots of the modern incarnation of the zombie that we see in media nowadays. They're not, and I will speak mostly based on my faith. For those who do not know, I am a Hungan. I am a voodoo priest, and probably the zombie is aside. There are two things in my faith that are greatly Hollywoodized and greatly misconstrued, and that is the voodoo doll and the zombie. And I kind of blame Bela Lugosi for that when he did the movie White Zombie. You can trace it back then when, for those who don't know, that's a very old black and white movie that Bela Lugosi did. But it was one of the first movies that dealt with the topic of zombies, and they used a very racist. I can say that. I'm not saying it was a racist movie, but during the time, they sensationalized voodoo and attached the zombie to that, without fully understanding, what exactly, in my faith, a zombie is. I would say was or is. It's more fun to create these mindless automatons that enjoy eating people. And as it progressed through pop culture, it went from just eating people or killing people in general to eating brains and then eating flesh. The zombie in my culture does not eat flesh whatsoever. And there are, of course, I'm babbling a little bit. You guys need to interject with questions or something to get me back on track.
I tell you what, I'll bring up a picture. I've got a selection of pictures. Which one would you like me to bring up first? Would you the flask first, the one at the top, maybe?
Yeah, because
there we go.
That's a powder box. For those who don't know what a powder box is, I'm about to explain that. That's a powder box. In my culture, there are two types of things that are considered what we would consider zombies. There is one that is made, that is still living, and then there is one that is more supernatural, that is what we call a risen zombie. What that container would hold right there would be, if not the ingredients too, but the actual substance of zombie dust or zombie powder. There was, and just as a side note, there was, when you talk about zombies, there's actually a movie that's probably, it's still Hollywoodizes, it still sensationalizes my faith and the zombie, but it comes very close to what we actually believe in. It was a movie called, that Wes Craven did in the 80s called The Serpent and the Rainbow. I strongly recommend people to watch that movie, The Serpent and the Rainbow. It's about 80% accurate and 20% Hollywood. But it explains how a doctor who was trying to find better painkillers and anesthesia heard of zombie dust in Haiti, how it was used. And he went down there to try to collect some and learn how to make it, so he could bring it back to the States and sell it to the pharmaceutical industries, and they could use it as both as an anesthesia and also as a painkiller. And he got in all kinds of trouble when he went down there with both the faithful, and he also got in trouble politically. But it's a movie based loosely on his story of when he traveled to Haiti to find out the origins of zombie powder and zombie dust.
Yeah,
it's a fun movie.
Yeah, I've actually seen it because I know the one you're talking about, and it's quite a very interesting movie.
It's a really, really good movie that's got a lot of true elements in it. There's also another movie, too, that deals with it that's lesser known. It's called Venom. Am I talking about the one with Tom Hardy and the symbiote? It was done in the 90s. And actually, members of my faith actually worked on suppressing that movie. So it's really hard to come by and really hard to find. But the movie is called Venom. But it deals with the creation of the supernatural zombie. While the other movie, The Serpent and the Rainbow, dealt with the creation of the living into a zombie. So those are two movies if you guys ever want to go check them out. If you can find the movie, what the fuck?
Will.
But if you ever find the movie Venom, I'm talking about the one with Tom Hardy, okay? Not the superhero movie with Tom Hardy. It's a different movie altogether. And it's actually what they did in that movie, which got them in trouble with us, is that they used accurate Veve symbols and actual rituals from our faith that actually work. They use them on the set and they use them in the movie. And
oh my God!
If you watch the movie, things happen when people watch this. When they watch Venom, things happen. And we worked really hard to get that movie suppressed and not be shown very often. I think I'm one of the few people in this area that own a copy of that movie.
Well, thanks to you, thanks to you, Mike. Dakota and me now, and probably the whole.
I'm going to go look for this movie.
Now know of the movie Venom. So
it raises you'll have nightmares after you watch it. Trust me.
Trust me.
That's something new.
It's a completely fascinating movie. But let's get back to zombies. Yeah. You showed me the container that held zombie dust. In our culture, there are culturally two distinct types of zombies. There are people that are turned into zombies that have their soul removed and they become zombies by the use of zombie powder.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's part of it, by the way. And then there is the actual raising of a corpse, of a soulless corpse, and putting the spirit of a Loa within that corpse to animate it to do what you want it to do. Now, the one that's created, the one that is made, what zombie powder does? Zombie powder is a mixture of toxins, but of all natural toxins that have to literally ferment in the ground. Usually it's 30 days, and you pull it out of the ground at the height of the fullest moon to use it. That's part of the ritual. I'm not going to share the ritual with everybody. We do not do that. I will tell you a few of the ingredients. One of the ingredients is a type of nightshade. Another ingredient is, the tetrodotoxin that comes from pufferfish. It also has various other it has ground human body parts in it as well. It has graveyards dust in it. It also has the blood of a condemned man that's always put inside of it as well. Those are just some of the ingredients you use to make it with it. You will not find a hungan or a mambo that will. We all know how to make it. We're taught how to make it. But it's something so dark and something also so dangerous to create that we very seldom do it in modern times. Now, the bakor, they make it all the time because it's also, it was sold at one point as a street drug. It was cut with other products to make it a little less lethal, a little less effective, but would give everybody they would go into a coma, which, by the way, when people, you don't have to ingest zombie dust. What they would do was the person that it was made for, that was the intended victim of the zombie dust. It would be blown in their face. It would be rubbed on their skin. It would be placed in something they would drink. You name it, because you can absorb that stuff through any mucous membrane, through your skin. You could, get it through your eyes by ingesting it. It worked most effectively with contact to the skin, because what it did was it shut down your body. It slowed down your metabolism to the point where you appeared dead, but you weren't dead. You would be wide awake the entire time it was going on, but you'd be able to speak or move, and your heartbeat would slow so much that it would be, wouldn't be able to be detected. Now, with modern technology, what we have now, modern medicine, and the equipment that we use now, it could probably be detected now with modern equipment. But back in the day, and I'm just saying probably about 15, 20 years ago, back in the day, the person would be perceived as being dead and being buried.
I watched a documentary about this, and I can't remember what it was called. And it was this man, he actually survived being a zombie. Do you know the one I'm talking about? And he was told he was lying there. He was in the
powder is only one part of it. The powder puts them out. The zombification comes when they're buried alive. But you have to remember, this is was usually done as a punishment to somebody. Somebody who did something egregious to the faithful, did something egregious. Now it became a political tool later on in Haiti, where people would use zombification to punish their political enemies with. But normally it would be used to. I'm sorry, what was that?
I was just going to say, after you spoke, will I bring up one of the pictures, the zombie pictures, the black and white ones that I've got? No, there you go.
Oh, go ahead, dude.
What, you want me to bring it up now?
Bring the picture.
It's an interesting one, this. You obviously know a lot more about this, Mike.
He looked like somebody had been drawn from the ground.
Yeah.
What they would do is when they used the dust on them, like that gentleman probably had a use on him, they would be buried alive. They'd be fully aware that they were in a coffin, and be fully aware of hearing the soil being thrown back over top of their coffin. Yeah. And after, they would leave them in the ground for a day or so before they drew them back up out of the ground. And they would not be themselves anymore. They could barely speak. They moved with a rigid motion. And there's a gentleman that's probably about to either bury someone or draw someone from the ground now.
Yes.
But when they drew them from the ground, what medically speaking, they suffered from brain damage from the lack of oxygen. But to the faithful, it would appear that they died and they were pulled out of the ground, resurrected from the ground. Because there's actually a ceremony involved where you're doing a blessing from Samadhi. You're telling them, we're going to pull this sinner, this bad man from the ground, give him back to us, so everybody may see his shame and his punishment, and beseeching Baron Samadhi to give back his life, but you can keep his soul. So Baron Samadhi would give you back his life, but he would not have a soul. A person, and it was very rarely happened to women. It usually was done to men. And the people, when they died, everybody thought they died. There'd be an obituary in the local paper saying that this person died. And then, a few days later, they see them walking down the road or walking down the alley. And the only thing they could think of was they've come back from the dead.
Yeah.
But they did
quite a scary thing,
Well, the thing is, they still had a need to eat and feed themselves. They still had the basic mindset to try to survive. They would try to eat. They would go and walk into someone's house in the middle of dinner and shamble in, and start eating off their plates. If someone offered them food, they would try to eat the plate or eat the glass that held the water that was given to them. They didn't live long once they were pulled from the ground in that state.
Yeah.
Usually they met with an unfortunate fate. I mean, the brain damage was so extensive, eventually they were going to die from the brain damage.
Oh, yeah.
But usually the locals would put them down. They would shoot them, burn them, strangle them, behead them, you name it. They would break all the bones in their arms and legs once they were dead to make sure they didn't rise again. And then they would put them back in the ground permanently that time. So, but when they saw them walking around, they know that they had committed some great act, some great sin that they were being punished by the Loa, by being brought back up to show their sin.
That's terrifying, Mike. That's absolutely
fucked up.
terrifying. I mean, there's a photo here. There's two photos. I've got one that you sent me, Mike, and then I found a kind of different one. Can you tell us something about this? Because I find this very interesting. It's kind of like an illustration.
The zombie was considered were considered also as slaves.
Yeah.
There are tales of people that were brought from the ground, and that's right there with the ropes around them. That they used them once they were pulled from the ground. That they were just now the man in that picture right there with the hat on.
Yes.
He represents one of the Loa that drew him from the ground. Wow.
Very interesting.
If you look over the grave, that mask that's over the grave, that represents the soul that was left in the ground. When the body was pulled out, the soul was left in the ground. I hadn't noticed that before.
Near the dark, I never noticed that either.
I know what that symbology is right there. When I look at it, I know what that.
Does the black
symbology is not used very often?
Does the blackness have like any symbology? I know if it's not, it's meant to be like dark because it's daytime, obviously. But you see how next to the two people in white, there's like.
Well, no, you only draw somebody from the grave at night. You never draw them out during the day.
Right. Right.
So this was all This was all done by candlelight. This was all done by lantern light and torch light when it would be done, when they draw them up. But there are stories of people like that there, that when they were drawn from the ground, that they were used as temporary labor in the fields, to pull plows and to cut sugar cane, so on and so forth. But you can see that church in the background, that cross. That kind of symbology didn't come in until much later in the history of the zombie, because the Christian missionaries frowned on that practice. Obviously.
Oh yeah.
When they would go to a Christian cemetery, that would usually be near a church, behind a church, or in front of a church, and dig up somebody that was supposedly dead from the ground.
Oh, good.
So
that
illustration right there shows that they gave zero fucks to that particular church when they did that act. So,
do you, out of curiosity, Mike, do you see the face? Do you see the face?
Yeah, the faces are just, when you pull them from the ground, there's nothing left of that person that's inside of them. So they become these faceless people. No,
I'm talking about the face that the man
of the man that did it.
Yeah, look at his leg. Look at his bottom leg.
Oh yeah, that's a representation of. That's one of the representations of Samadhi. When he is pulling people from the ground for you, he walks Samadhi, and the reason why you break their legs and arms when you put them back into the ground is one of the aspects of the Baron of Saturdays, is that he is the broken man. That he walks because he walks. Almost like a spider, because of his arms and legs are perpetually broken. The bones in his arms and legs are always broken. But he can still wield a shovel and dig your grave if need be.
I find it very disturbing too, Mike, that there's a child in that.
No, that's normal.
So they brought children back
That's
too.
normal.
So they brought children back too. Why would you want to bring a child back?
That was usually done politically, and done by your political enemies that would do that. That would kill your children and bring them back. Kill them figuratively and bring them back.
Before we go into
something the political figures did at the time, especially in Haiti, they wouldn't kill you. They would torture the hell out of you, but they would torture and murder your entire family.
Oh my God.
So you would have to live with the memory of what they did to your family. They wouldn't let you die. And I've heard plenty of stories that involve that.
That's actually, it's terrifying. It's terrifying. There's a photo here that you sent me, Mike, and I would like to know more about it. It's very interesting. Here we go. Yeah.
That's a representation of Shango that they're trying to invoke right there. Actually, Shango deals more with putting the dead back in the grave. And that probably leads into the next type of zombie that I was telling you guys about.
This is what I'm looking for.
The more supernatural, the more paranormal, supernatural, insidious zombie that's done with it.
Yes.
There is a ritual, there is a practice of somebody who is freshly dead, having their body taken from it's brought above their grave. Their grave is dug up and they're brought to lay flat on their grave. And this is probably something more what Hollywood grasped onto when they started coming up with the various zombie movies and zombie television shows.
Yeah.
Aside from the eating of flesh and brains.
Yes.
That the zombie is used as a tool for revenge. That the body is brought back, but the spirit is not brought back. But you need something to animate the body when it's dug up from the grave. And it's usually the spirit of a member of the House of Gadi, which is one of the greater houses. I know it sounds like Game of Thrones, but it's not. When I start talking about houses. But there are families in my faith's spirits. There's families of true families of spirits where there's a father, a mother, and the children, grandchildren, and cousins, uncles, so on and so forth. And the Gadi is one of the family names and one of the families that their main aspect to all of the children that were born as low as in that family were to deal with different aspects of death and undeath. And you would dig the body up. It had to be an intact body. It couldn't be missing arms, legs, head, anything like that. It had to have its own eyes as well. It had to be as intact as possible. So. And it was preferable to be rather youthful, and during their time of life. But what you would do was you would animate this body to go forth and to literally kill people, to go out and strangle, beat, kill, chew, you name it, to other people. But you would have to invest a spirit from the Gadi family to animate this body. The trick was, once the body is brought up and once the body is animated, the body can never, you can't destroy it. You've brought something new to the world that you can't get rid of once you do it. Once it fulfills its purpose, it sits back and waits for more orders. It'll actually follow around the person who brought it back in the first place, who created it in the first place. It will actually follow them. They may leave it in the cemetery, but as they're walking down the road or traveling in the country, they may see the body that they brought back walking and following them through the woods or walking and following them through the town or the city. Again, they walk with not with a fluid gait. They walk with, stiff legs, stiff arms. But when you just looking at them, you would assume that they were alive. You wouldn't assume that they were dead until you tried to speak to them, and they would not speak back. And if you looked deep within their eyes, because where their pupils should be at are tiny orange pinpricks of flame that exist in those eyes. That is the spirit that's animating that body, that exists within the eyes of that zombie. And they would send it out to for revenge, to kill if a wife is unfaithful, if your wife is unfaithful, you would send the zombie forth to kill the man that she was screwing. If you felt like that your neighbor had done something to offend you enough to where you felt like creating this blasphemous thing to go out and to kill them. It reminds you a lot of the Jewish and the Kabbalah golem is the way you would give it its instructions. Instead of giving it instructions and placing the instructions in the mouth of this automaton that you raised up, you would draw pictures using colored sand to do it with it. And you would bring it, it would sit there with you, and you would show it what you wanted it to do. And you would give it a time frame in which to do it with. Now, you only maintain control from moon to moon of it. That's a control. It would only listen to you from moon to moon. It would only kill for you from moon to moon. So you'd have 30 days for it to exact what you wanted to do for it to do it. Then after that, it was free to roam. And like I said, usually it followed you. It wouldn't leave you alone until you put it back in its grave. Like I said before, you couldn't destroy it. You could burn it. You could chop it up. But over time, throw it into the ocean. But over time, this thing would piece itself back together. It would come back together. It would show up on your doorstep again. Not to hurt you, but if it was still within that moon-to-moon period, it would be there for further instructions to complete its mission.
So basically, it's the ultimate soldier then. It's the ultimate killing machine.
That's what it was considered as, and it did not use tools or anything like that. It used its bare hands, it used its mouth, it used its feet to literally rip you apart, snap your neck, so on and so forth. Now, if you needed to put it down, knowing that this thing that you created is now completely immortal, you can't do anything with it. The only way to put it back in its grave, and this is a little bit,
But discretion is advised.
But I know, but every child knows this, and most of these corpses were males. So what you would do was you would cut its penis off, place it in its mouth, and when you placed it within its mouth, you also had to fill its mouth with salt. Completely with salt, and then sew its lips together over top of that. You would cut off its toes. The toes you would fling into the woods or burn in a fire. You would pour salt in the nose, and then you would sew up the nose holes of it. But you weren't finished yet. You had the eyes. You had to blind it. You had to literally take hot pokers and put the eyes out, and then take the eyelids and sew them shut. After you poured salt, of course, in the holes that were once held its eyes. What that does is it grounds out, the spiritual energy that's animating this corpse to where it will no longer rise. Now, if you were to cut the mouth open, cut open all the holes and remove all the salt, it would rise again and start moving again and pull itself back together again. But usually once you did all that, you would put it back in its grave and cover it, and nobody would go near that grave or ever try to take that body up again, knowing what it was that was waiting in there, waiting to come back to life and come back out of there.
One question, and I'm thinking for the chat here. What happens if the zombie was a woman? I had to ask the question. I don't know. It's just something.
Oh my God!
I've never heard of an instance where a zombie was a woman.
Right.
I've heard of women that were punished using the dust before. But I had never heard of this woman being one of these Haitian revenants brought back for revenge before. Ever.
Here's an interesting question, Mike. In all your days and all your stuff that you've done, have you ever encountered anything exactly the same as it?
I think in my time that I've seen them.
Right.
But never interacted with them. I would see them on the street and I would get the impression there was something wrong there. But I never interacted with them, nor have I ever felt compelled to ever make one or summon one whatsoever.
Do you
now
think
you're making me think that other question about women's making me think too. No, because there is a way. There was a way that they would use women to punish their husbands with, and sometimes zombie powder was used in it. But it was a way. It invoked a certain madness in women that caused the woman to kill her husband. And then she would wake like she had been asleep with no memory of what she did. But during the madness that she's infected with, she felt no pain. And if she had no knife and no tool in which to stab or kill her husband, she would use her hands and her teeth to rip into him with it. And she felt no pain during this time. So if she was shot or stabbed, she wouldn't feel it. She would continue on until he was dead. And once he was dead, she would snap out of it.
I'll ask this question.
Or a woman cracked out on meth. Got
it. Here's a question for you, and then I'll let Dakota speak because he's no spoke all night hardly. Do you think in this modern era in the United States, is there any among us right now?
Yes.
Right. That's terrifying, that actually. Yeah.
I know. Just not the Haitian version that's out there, because there are things that were brought up, and summoned forth zombies that were just released into the wild instead of being put down properly. But there are other cultures with other practices that would resemble what we would call a zombie that are out there.
Yeah. That
people brought up. Like I mentioned before, there of course is a Scandinavian revenant, which looks just like a living being, except for the person that it was called forth to kill. It's a corpse. It's an animated corpse. The person that it was sent to kill or to harm would not see it as they would not see it as a living being. They would see it as a shambling, rotting corpse coming after them. While everybody else around them, the non-intended victims, they would see it as a living being attacking another person. But the person being attacked would see it as it really was, as a rotting corpse trying to kill them. So.
Cool.
I'm finding it interesting that Mike's sound is starting to act funny as he was talking about that.
Yeah.
I don't have a mirror box to put myself in, so.
We'll need to make one.
I know. I have to make a big mirror coffin to put myself in. So.
Hi.
So, out of curiosity, are there any countermeasures that someone could do that could negate the effects of the zombie dust?
No. Absolutely
not.
Absolutely none. This stuff is incredibly strong. There's no way to avoid it. If you get the smallest amount on your body, it will affect you. Mm-hmm. And it could, again, you could get it on your clothes. This is why it's so dangerous. This is why so many people don't screw with it. If you get some on your clothes, think of it as the fentanyl of the supernatural world. It doesn't take much to affect you whatsoever. I like playing pop culture and current event stuff to explain stuff. If you have some that's settled, like it missed you, but it settled on your clothing, but later on it gets on your skin, it's going to have the same effect. It's going to do it. It takes so little of it to put you down, and there's no way to. It has to wear off. It has to wear, and it does wear off. It takes about 24 or 48 hours for it to completely wear off, but it does wear off. Your body does metabolize it, and it does wear off. And you wake up fine. Aside from the point, if somebody buried you, though, while you were under the effects of it, you would wake up fine.
Silent mode.
Wake up with some serious brain damage.
Mike.
That you would meet your final death eventually from it. So
that was strange. You're starting to talk like a.
See what I mean?
That is,
deeper in the hole we go, the weirder Mike sounds.
Here's something, and maybe there's somebody sitting out there panicking now because somebody set a zombie after them. The second zombie, the bad ones that don't die, right? Is there any way, it's going to get you. In the end, it is going to get you, right? Is there any way you can protect your house so it can't come into the house? So as it waits outside on you, it can't come in. Is there any way you can protect your house to stop it from coming in to get you?
Supposedly, if you put a ring around your house, it's called it's a tree called beach pine. It has a more proper name, but in Haiti it's called beach pine. That you use the ash from that mixed with the soil of the person of the body that was pulled from the ground. But you would have to know that name of that person and find their grave to be able to get the soil from their grave. And you would mix those and you could put it in a ring around your home. They couldn't cross that whatsoever. Very few things actually can cross that mixture. But you would have to know a lot of details about what was coming after you, what it was in life that was coming after you, to be able to find the grave and then be able to get the dirt from that grave to mix it with it. So,
very interesting. I've just got one more question before I hand you over to Dakota. See how you were saying about destroying the body, chopping its toes off and stuff, and then you went and said, because this is I was thinking about this. You said there's some just thrown into the woods loose. What did you mean by that? So you're telling me that they're maybe wandering about the woods as we speak?
Yeah.
Loose.
Especially if the one that called them has died. If they died, they don't have anybody. They don't have an anchor anymore to this world, so they wander the world now.
So they just wander
aimlessly. They don't. Well, they don't need food. They don't need water. They don't need to breathe. They're probably what gave a lot of credence to a lot of the legends of some of the more dangerous zombies that we have in our pop culture now, were people spotting these free-range zombies that became free-range once they were abandoned or the person that called them up had died and left this world. And they no longer could call that person anymore like a puppy. So, yeah, you could quite possibly run across one. It is very, very possible.
That's quite
But much
scary.
like one of my favorite quotes from the Hellraiser movies, it's that you don't want to get in its way. The quote is, you never stand between hell and its goals. So you never stand between that thing that's out there walking and where it wants to go. Otherwise, it'll take enough interest in you to snap your neck and then keep walking.
Lovely.
My goodness. Dakota?
Now, Mike, for some reason, I just got to start thinking of, like, skinwalkers and stuff.
Oh, Jesus. Christ.
Oh, my God. Has there ever been an incident where it wasn't humans that the zombification process was done into, but animals instead?
There are tales. Animals are different. Animals are completely different. Yeah. Their souls have a different purpose. Animals have a different purpose in both life and in death. They are creatures of instinct. So you couldn't call up the spirit of a wolf, of a dead wolf, or try to summon a dead wolf, because you're just bringing something back to this world that's going to act the way it was when it was alive. It doesn't have that spark currently or in the past of humanity. of purpose. It is a creature of instinct. And when you bring it back, you have a creature of instinct again that you won't be able to communicate with it whatsoever. And it's going to act instinctually. If you were able to pull something like that off, it is something that's going to act instinctually. It's not going to be your personal attack dog. It'll more likely attack you and rip your throat out, and then fall back into a state of death after it does that.
Pet Cemetery, got it.
Here's a question. I'm just going to throw this out here. It popped into my head when I was sitting here, but obviously this is probably a load of rubbish, right? What happens if you get a darker creature, a living darker creature entity, known, because there's loads of cryptids out there, right? That's intelligent, aware, and do the exact same to it. The Bigfoot.
Now, and
there you go.
I couldn't imagine a zombie Bigfoot whatsoever.
That would be fucking horrifying.
But there are, in different cultures, especially in Native American cultures, there are darker spirits of the wood that can be, and from nature and from the rocks and from the stone, that can be called up to animate corpses with. There's stories that they would tell back when we were moving out west and moving across the west, of people seeing Indians riding horses at midnight across the plains, but they would have this blue like hellfire glinting off of their bodies and off of the horses. And supposedly these were once dead Indians that had died, that had been brought back to defend their lands. But their souls didn't come back. They brought the spirits of the land, protecting spirits of the land, and some of the darker spirits of the air and of the night to inhabit the bodies to ride out to do these things. So
you're fucking telling me that Ghost Rider is real? Son of a bitch.
Ding, 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 ding.
Sorry, it's just...
Yeah. No. I can think about 13 tribes right now are thinking about coming there and smacking you around right now.
Sorry.
Do you want me to give you your address, Dakota? If any American Indians out there want to meet Dakota in person, please go to the website and leave a comment or two. You know, it's always available.
Just head out to Lanarkshire, you know.
You can get Google instructions.
Idaho.
Google Maps to his house. So.
I'll post Chris's address. You know, he left it in the store, so.
I know. It's absolutely fine. It's absolutely fine. You can come and visit if you want. I'm not caring. So, there's one other picture we've got there actually, and it was. I think it's the one where you said where they're mixing up the ingredients. You know, but never actually showed this one. Let's see. Let me play it. There we go.
Yeah, it looks like they're mixing the ingredients to it right there.
Is that a human skull there? That's like a human skull.
Yeah, it's a skull.
I have before I say this. It is illegal. It is a felony to harvest human remains from cemeteries currently.
Yeah.
But before those laws were in effect, and those laws don't pertain to any human remains that were harvested before that law went into effect.
Yeah.
With that being said, I own several human skulls.
Do you, mate?
No.
You show one of them one night.
Wow, what a surprise. I own human
Well, there is a guy on TikTok who is selling real human bones.
That's illegal. That's illegal.
Illegally acquired. And I was like, isn't transporting them across state lines legal?
Well, it's illegal to sell human remains too.
But what happens if they're already old, very old? Say they're about maybe 500 years old and they were bought in a shop maybe 100 years ago.
There's still laws that prohibit doing that, except for under extreme cases. Most of the time, you can donate to museums, to different societies to do it with it. But you can't exchange money when it comes to that whatsoever.
Out of curiosity, the human skulls that you've got, wasn't anybody that pissed you off, was it?
No. It was during my training where I had to go out and remove the skulls out of the ground of some people to create tools that I needed for my practice. So, and one of them I turned into a bowl, which I used to mix various powders and dusts in.
For a second there, I thought you were going to say you eat your Rice Krispies out.
Oh, God.
Your Cocoa Pops or your...
The others
lotion on its skin, Rob.
The others I use like a transistor radio if I need to try to communicate with someone. So
oh my God!
I have the remains act as an anchor for the spirit that I'm calling up. So the other one I use to make shit up.
I would love to see that one night. Would you?
I have to make shit up.
There was like an electronic static I heard on my end when Mike was talking about using it as a transponder. What the hell? That was just freaky. I would really be interested in seeing that, mate.
I will have to do a show on that and have those and bring some, because they currently reside in the cabinet of bad shit. So I lock them up so people don't mess with them too often. So
why don't you do a video live one night, Mike, from the epicenter, from the cabinet of bad shit, from the location itself?
You know why?
Come and visit you and help you.
It's because I don't know how much.
FBI, open up!
We'll know of some of the malice that's associated with these objects. I'm not sure how much of it can be transmitted digitally. I was curious. I didn't think about this until after my show ended last night. Of how many people could have been affected last night by it.
I was affected slightly. I couldn't sleep after it. For some weird reason, I kept seeing it in my image in my head, I will say that. And I had and I seen you, but you had like a weird gown on. I don't know what you were up to. And
Liberace.
Liberace, there you go. And I seen the face, and I kept waking up. It's strange. I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning exactly. Went back to sleep, and I woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning exactly. And every time I woke up, I let my Alexa sit next to me, and I clicked it, and it was exactly like 4 a.m.
Nothing caught on fire, or you didn't feel ill, or have a fever.
My experience, it takes spirits a little bit to figure out how to transmit themselves digitally. But
when I woke up in the morning, I had a sore stomach for some weird reason. I did have a sore stomach.
Well,
but it didn't last long.
If you don't die within a space of 15 days, I'll say that you weren't cursed. So
I'll be fine then. But if this is my last transmission, I would just like to say everybody as witnesses that I am going to haunt Dakota. But Mike, you know something? Because I like you so much, I'm not going to haunt you because I just like you so much.
It'll be a happy haunting.
Aye.
But just let your family know, though, Chris, that I would appreciate a body part, like a finger or a toe or something.
Would you like left hand or right hand?
Left hand, preferably, to put in my cabinet of curiosities. So.
Would you like the full hand? Would you like the full hand on like a kind of a mounted mantelpiece kind of thing with some LEDs?
No, I do not want to hold
it.
I've seen plenty of hands of glory during my days of traveling. I do not need any more.
Oh God!
Not a glory hole, but a hand of glory.
Can you imagine
hand of glory that's shaped like that? Yeah.
Can you imagine what would be worse? Going down to the cabinet of this despair where all your things are, and then noticing that my hand was missing. So you'd be lying in your bed at night, there'd be something slowly.
I like to see if I could get your hand to get it to walk around like thing. That'd be kind of cool.
You can get me to do like things, like maybe like clean.
I'm pretty sure I could go all Dr. Frankenstein on that thing and do that. So.
Well, my last will and testament that Dakota I don't really know, Dakota. I'm just going to haunt you. And my left hand has to go to Mike, the Naked Bigfoot, for a science experiment. You know what? My right hand's the, you know what I mean? My right hand's a
I
good
just
hand,
want to
you
make
know?
I just want to make a necklace out of your knuckle bones. That's all. So
I think that would look really nice. And you can buy it on
All right,
Amazon
Dahmer.
from Mike's store.
oh no, I own several bone necklaces. I wouldn't mind another one.
Oh my God, it's all coming.
I own several.
Oh, God.
I
Can I
own
ask you
several
something?
musical
What's the
instruments that are
next?
made from human remains as well. So
Oh my God, ladies
those
and
I
gentlemen.
inherited. Those were passed along to me, so I did not make
Any
those. They were
sex
inherited.
toys?
Oh no, one of them is a pipe. Is a pipe made from a femur. That sounds. That's in there too, because every time you play it, every sound that comes out of it is so sad. And you can't get the music out of your ears once you hear it. It lingers with you for days and days and days when you play music on somebody's human remains. So, and I have a drum that the drum part of it is made from human skin. So I inherited that. I did not buy that.
The
so
FBI was sitting watching this today, right?
Everybody
I
Where's this
inherited that.
transmission coming from?
Yeah, it's over 100 years old.
It's like, I inherited that. Don't look underneath the rose bush.
Yeah,
And
it's over 100 years old. So
Are you looking forward to Sunday, Mike, when you said you were coming on with me and Dakota to talk about the Paris catacombs? Or you like it? There's loads of human parts in there.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of like a Walmart for body parts, isn't it?
That's probably one of the few places on Earth that I would never go to. Would be the Parisian catacombs whatsoever.
Why not?
Why? That's kind of like a holiday location.
Well, you know they still hold parties and raves.
Oh yeah.
And there's in those catacombs. There's cults that practice all kinds of crazy shit down there. There's actually drug labs that are in those Parisian catacombs as well.
Yep.
There's all kinds of crazy shit that happens down there.
Yeah.
I've seen way too many movies and documentaries about that place.
What's that film? Is it So Below or So Beloved? What is that?
Yeah, that's one of the worst ones. That's like, oh god, it's so claustrophobic. It'll just fuck you up watching that movie. As Above, So Below. That's a tough movie to watch. There's also a movie called Creep. There's one called Creep that's like that too. That'll just make you claustrophobic watching it.
I felt claustrophobic when I went down there myself.
Oof.
You've actually been down there.
I've been to Parisian catacombs.
How the hell did you get in there? I mean, you're what, 7 foot tall or something like that?
Not quite, and trust me, there was a lot of fucking limbo in order to get through some of the doorways. But yeah, I was in one of those tour groups that I told you about, and they took us to the Paris catacombs. So I was like, oh, sweet.
Yeah, those things were not made for modern men. Those things were made for people that were a lot shorter and smaller than we are.
I find it fascinating, the Paris catacombs, because there's actually tunnel systems that haven't been even explored yet.
Oh yeah,
because there's hundreds of miles.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you think
they haven't been explored as far as we know.
That's very true.
There could be whole groups of people living in those catacombs too.
Well, I actually found out something really interesting. During World War II, you'll like this, the Nazis had a bunker in the Paris catacombs. And I kid you not, 10 feet below the Nazis' bunker, the Paris resistance, that's where their bunker was.
I can believe
all
that.
In the same system. All in the same system.
And never the two would meet. I mean, that's just how extensive those catacombs were and are.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You know, we should actually do a live one night talking about the Nazis and what they actually go up to. Because you'll know quite a lot about that, Mike, don't you? All the kind of strange satanic and the kind of strange worshipping that went on. With
See, people always would assume that it was satanic, but they practiced. Yeah, they practiced rituals that were far older and far darker than anything that the Christians could pull out of their ass. So.
Oh yeah.
So Mike,
and a lot of it
next show? What's your next show?
I'm probably going to do the show about that clay pipe. To be honest with you. the tale of the clay pipe.
Yeah.
The clay
Can I
pipe
ask
should be interesting.
One question about the clay pipe. What did you smoke in it out of curiosity? Was it just normal tobacco or was it anything else? Because it's something that's in the back of my book. I bet you
you
did.
were going to
didn't
anything that you did smoke in that, you would summon the spirits of the people that their ashes were mixed within that pipe. But I mainly smoked when I did smoke it was with tobacco that we actually raised on the farm and smoked and cured ourselves. So
any young kiddies watching, don't smoke tobacco. It's very bad for you. Gives you cancer and many bad things as well.
Unless you grow your own.
I was about to say, but tobacco itself, not so much. It's the shit they put.
It's the chemicals they put in it. Like modern cigarettes, if you ever light a modern cigarette, it burns down extremely quick. It's designed to burn quick, so you have to have another one. Whereas because I used to smoke roll-ups, I used to smoke Golden Virginia. I used to smoke roll-ups, and they lasted longer, a lot longer.
Mm-hmm. Regular tobacco does last a lot longer, and then there's a thing called rabbit ear tobacco, which grows wild here in the United States, and it was smoked by the Native Americans and a lot of the southern tribes, and that stuff would fuck you up like Percocet.
Yeah. You need to get your own online store, Mike. Mike's Strange and Unusual Things online store. I think you'd make a killing.
I think we need to get Mike's videos syndicated on the TV network.
I know, Mike. We need to get your videos on the TV net. And another thing, when is this book coming out? When is the book coming out?
Yes, I'm on that.
Glad you mentioned that because I am expecting a visit tomorrow from my from one of my attorneys, but also from my agent / publisher will be here tomorrow. So we're going to be talking about that, moving forward with it. So we are moving forward. Again, the family members involved in that haven't died yet. But we did reach an amicable settlement. So
I was going to say you could always leave them a clay face, in the will.
You should not fuck with the stone face. Should never fuck with the stone face at all.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed it tonight. We'll catch you all on Saturday and Sunday, and Sherry, she's got a show tomorrow in the Lost Magics. What's it about tomorrow, Dakota?
I believe Queen's Castle, and I actually need to get with Sherry in order to iron out the details, because I haven't posted anything for it yet.
That's terrible.
But there's a lot of fucking castles!
I know there's loads of castles here in the United Kingdom. Well, I'm in Scotland.
It's like, there's a castle?
One over there. They're everywhere.
Look, a nudist castle.
We better don't tell Mike about things like that. You'll be getting them all excited.
They exist.
Where? I need to go.
We'll see you, Mike, after the show. But everybody, thank you for coming, and we'll see you all on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. See you later.
All right. Come on.